Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it great to be together again? Thank you for the welcome, and I think Melissa may have departed, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank her for her marvellous welcome to country. And I've been to many meetings over my journey where there have been welcomes to country, and you don't always get one as inspiring as that, and I think that was marvellous, so thank you. Rolf Voss, I'd like to acknowledge you as Chair of TIA, and I'd also like to acknowledge Bridget Archer with us today, and thank her for her great support for the initiatives. I'm particularly grateful as I look across the program for the day to see the level of engagement is like second to none. When I consider the range of topics that will be examined, a few caught my eye more than others. I'd love to stay for the Indigenous use of Kanamaluka Tamar Estuary. I remember very fondly, was it last year or the year before, at the Tail Race Centre listening to some of the social history, and there's another part today in relation to that. The River Health Action Plan, the tidal prison in the North Esk, I think I'll have to come back for that section, and of course sediment management, which tells me just how far we have come when we're actually talking about sediment management, and I think that the language can follow the policy direction that we all are wanting to go. From the outset, I'd like to bring the greetings of the Premier, who would have loved to have been here as well. He's unable to be here, and when I consider the success of TIA since it was formed, this has actually now become a genuine regional partnership. I think one which is already delivering strong benefits for the local community as we gain maturity in our knowledge of how the river ecosystem and its inputs are working and how they are dynamic, and human influences on that, the way that the environment behaves, the way that we can work with it, but importantly as we mature our relationships, the way that we engage with each other, noting that there are, I won't say competing, but there are different priorities for the way in which people wish to use and enjoy the river. And I think as a community, we're getting better at it as we evolve and mature those working relationships, and I think that that is to be applauded. I particularly wish to thank Gary, my Deputy Secretary, Gary Swain, who assists me in chairing the Tamar Estuary Management Task Force. I think, again, the way in which we've been able to work together and get the right people around the table looking at the same set of facts, but then working together collegially is a game changer for us in the northern community, and I want to thank you, Gary, for doing that at times thankless work, but not thankless today. Well, the Tamar and its tributaries, the North and South Esk rivers, are the lifeblood of the Tamar Valley. The Tasmanian Government is very committed to improving the amenity and the health of the estuary for all of its users and for the river itself. The Australian Government has been a tremendous partner, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so thankful to Bridget for her ongoing support through the actions of the Australian Government, particularly through the funding through the agreed priorities. As you, ladies and gentlemen, would be aware, the health of the estuary has been negatively affected over many decades due to pollution from Launceston's combined sewerage and stormwater system, but as well as urban and rural land uses. The $147 million River Health Action Plan, which has been funded through the Launceston City deal, is working to improve the long-term health of the estuary by delivering improved catchment management actions. I got a brief on this not long ago. I think we're up to over 300 kilometres fenced of a 700 plus kilometre ambition. Just marvellous. Couldn't have dreamt of that 10 years ago. But as well as that, of course, the more topical and more on your lips initiative being the upgrades to Launceston's combined stormwater and sewerage system. I'm really pleased to see today that participants will be hearing firsthand from the delivery partners for that River Health Action Plan, NRM North and TasWater, about the important work and the progress that's being made to date on that River Health Action Plan. With work already underway to improve the health of the estuary, the government believes that now is the appropriate time to turn our attention to improving people's experience of the estuary as well. And that is why we have committed up to $4 million over the next 2 years for site-specific dredging to be established to improve access to the Tamar Rowing Club, the Tamar Yacht Club and the Seaport Marina to the navigable channels and recreational locations. And I put a strong view that that does not conflict with the aims of the estuary program, nor the long-term River Health Action Plan. But it's about supporting and keeping those mature relations between different user groups very much alive and ensuring that everybody feels that they are a part of the action and enjoying the benefits that can come from this growing knowledge. I also was very pleased recently to join with Joe Palmer and Nick Duigan. We've got east and west of the Tamars taken care of there for the launch of the Tamar Estuary Management Task Force's draft vision for the future of Canamalooka Tamar Estuary. Of course, this is very important because the people in this room, I think it's fair to say, will be perhaps the people in our state most invested and with the most that it's been given to developing the knowledge and those improved relations. But what about the broader community? What about the people who live in those houses and the ones who are walking over this bridge just now? We have to engage with them because they, of course, have their own opinions and views, and they deserve to be taken along as part of the journey. And we need to find ways to reach out to them. And as a member of a government, I know just sometimes how hard it can be at times when you want the public to understand something that might be a government initiative or something that's open right now. You really want them to jump on the journey with you, particularly when you're asking them for their feedback and particularly when you're asking them for their support. We've got to find those, create those links and encourage people to join that journey. Well, the vision considers what can be done for the long term to make the estuary an area that not only attracts people, but makes them want to stay and spend time at this phenomenal location with so much history, richness of legacy, but also a great future with fantastic potential. The vision asks the reader, what's possible here? For example, what about a cultural and community precinct? What about new boardwalks and increased opportunity to recreate with your family and friends? What about dining opportunities? What about connecting those different stretches on this part of the Tamar to make them more accessible and enjoyable? What about asking the community to have a look at the new footbridge, pointing in the right direction, the second new footbridge, which is just coming to completion now, saying, look what we can do. Wonder if we can do more of that. How can we help people to gain access to this incredible waterway and enjoy it? But the vision also recognises that long-term sustainable initiatives are required to manage the sediment in the estuary, to encourage and maintain investment in the infrastructure and the precincts. And while we've been very clear that the vision is a draft vision, government hasn't 100% locked on just yet, but we want to. At this juncture, we haven't made that commitment. We want the public to be involved. We want the public, the wider community, to have their say, to catch the vision themselves, and maybe even to say something that will help us to refine it. It's a really important step in that conversation that I'm really dwelling on here, because that is the way that we'll get a broader sense of unity and consensus going forward. And I want the government to be seen to be promoting that genuine conversation. So the first stage of consulting to that vision closed only last weekend on Sunday. I've had a bit of feedback from Gary. About 100 people have, or organisations have contributed. We'll compile that feedback, at least Gary will. We'll compile that feedback and we'll report back again to the community. And here's another opportunity next month in October to ask people to respond to what we heard, and again to lock on to what the final vision could involve and what the Tamar could become in the long term. And I want to say to those looking to get involved in the consultations, yes, we know that there have been many different ideas put forward over the years, and I believe they've all been put forward with genuine good intent, genuine good faith. I think we all deep down want similar things. But of course, we have to recognise that not all of them are able to be implemented, particularly where they conflict. Not all of them are feasible or affordable. And that's why I'm supporting this approach of the task force to consult on what is viable and also what's desirable. And I really look forward to seeing that vision completed so it can be provided to government, that it can be considered, and we can then determine where the best use of our combined investment in the area should be, particularly when you look at 3 levels of government which have a demonstrated commitment to working together for the benefit of the river and the humans that want to enjoy it. And so what I envision and what I hope for and what I see coming through that task force's vision is a place where people can come together, where they can have fun, and an area that is alive, one that has an improving ecosystem and water health, and supports our local businesses and brings in more tourists. And I want to thank the TIER program and the Environment Institute of Australia and New Zealand for hosting and organising this year's Tamar Forum. I particularly would like to acknowledge the local government partners, the many other agencies, as I said, more than 20, and the sponsors who have variously got their clobber out here. It's great that we've able to see so much co-investment and support for what's going to be a fabulous day. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to officially open the forum today. I hope it's very successful. I will be staying until morning tea, and I look forward to having some conversations with people in the room today. Have a fantastic forum. Thank you.